Godzilla is a 1954 film directed by Ishiro Honda. Cultural osmosis suggests that even if one has not seen the original Japanese film distributed by Toho, one is still able to explain who or what Godzilla is. He's a giant lizard monster who breathes radiation and terrorizes Japan. His exploits are mocked for their over-the-top battles and rubber suits, and the fleeing, poorly dubbed citizens have become a kind of stock joke whenever one needs to quickly think of a piece of Japanese culture that Western audiences know. He is a cartoon character, and when in live action, the special effects and costumes are practically antediluvian. Godzilla is a well-known name and image, one that can be franchised and rebooted every so often. He is, well, a joke. But he shouldn't be. Godzilla, or Gojira as the Japanese call him, is the titular character in a deathly serious film. Western audiences are probably more familiar with the recent film versions of Godzilla and the American recut of the original film titled Godzilla, King of the Monsters. But the original uncut Japanese version, now readily available due to the Internet and Criterion Collection, is no joke. This version may be different from the one you remember, so bear with me. Off the coast of Odo Island, strange reports come in about disappearing boats. An old man claims it must be Godzilla, a local folklore monster. People mock him for his superstitious beliefs, but the myth has a hint of truth. Scientists discover that hydrogen bomb testing may have disturbed Godzilla's natural underwater habitat, thought to be a cave. Godzilla is set loose upon Japan, crushing everything in its wake. Dr. Yamane believes the government should study Godzilla instead of destroying him. Due to the immediate threat, others disagree. Yamane's daughter, Emiko, is invited to the laboratory of Dr. Serizawa. In the lab, she learns that Serizawa is developing a powerful weapon that, in the wrong hands, would be disastrous, but it may be able to defeat Godzilla. After some debate, the weapon is used, and Japan is safe. There is more to the film, a love story, for example, but those are the basics as it pertains to the monster. To understand how this movie came to be, we first need to understand Japan, both during and after World War II. By 1942, many of the world's major powers were trying to develop their own nuclear weapons. Nazi Germany had a nuclear project, the Soviets did too, and the Japanese were no different. Japan did not develop their weapon as quickly as the Americans, and were struck with 2 atomic weapons in August of 1945, prompting their surrender in World War II. In 1967, Japan adopted the 3 non-nuclear principles, ruling out the production, possession, or introduction of nuclear weapons. But between 1945 and 1967, there was concern among the Japanese about what their country would be in the post-war world, not to mention the fact that the Japanese were watching the Cold War unfold, causing some alarm that their nation, only recently assaulted with nuclear weapons, was witnessing the proliferation of said weapons across the globe. Today, Japan has the capability to create nuclear weapons, but has opted never to do so. And that brings us to Godzilla. Godzilla is the manifestation of Japan's nuclear fears. It's unknown exactly how many died in the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, but estimates range from 129,000 to 246,000, most of whom were civilians. In 1954, when this was released, the wounds were still fresh. In the film, Godzilla is awakened due to nuclear weapons testing. He rampages across Japan, crushes houses, destroys lives, and blasts civilians with a radioactive breath. Ishiro Honda was actually a Japanese soldier in World War II. He was drafted, served his country, and was a prisoner of war in China. When he returned home, he actually visited the ruins of Nagasaki, and after seeing the devastation, he declared himself a pacifist. He wanted to make a film about the effects of nuclear war right away, but American occupation of his country, and therefore political censorship, made that impossible. The occupation officially ended in 1952, and Honda made Godzilla 2 years later. Honda had always envisioned Godzilla to be a metaphor for nuclear power. In fact, even the design of the monster relates to this. He insisted matching the texture of Godzilla's skin to radiation scarring. That's why he looks like that. The film is not only about Hiroshima and Nagasaki though, it's about nuclear weapons testing. For example, just months before the release of the film, America tested its first dry fuel hydrogen bomb, codenamed Castle Bravo, and its radiation contamination reached Australia, India, and Japan. The Japanese had real concerns, not only that nuclear war may break out again, but that nuclear testing by other countries might continue to affect their country that only recently began to understand radiation sickness.
水爆の洗礼を受けながらも、なおかつ生命を保っているゴジラを何をもって抹殺しようというのですか?
In the film, the government debates whether or not Godzilla's existence can be revealed to the Japanese public. One half is against it, and the other says people have a right to know. This may be a reference to American and Russian nuclear testing being top secret during the Cold War, which made sense for their own respective national security reasons, but it also put Japan and other countries at risk of contamination. Early in the film, we see that ships are destroyed by Godzilla, mysteriously disappearing before Japan knew about the monster. This references the fishing boat Daigo Fukuyoru Maru, which was affected by the weapons testing right before Godzilla was scripted. The time between beginning of production to the film's premiere was only a few months, so the film was very current about what was happening. Dr. Yamane represents idealism and pacifism. He is one of the only voices who insists that Godzilla should not be immediately killed because studying him will benefit mankind. If Godzilla can withstand nuclear weapons, then this immunity could be used to protect the world from radiation poisoning. He is largely shouted down, though. Godzilla presents a more immediate threat to Japan, and the military is put in charge. It should be noted that prior to 1952, American occupation of Japan meant that Japanese films could not show the nation's military, so this was something only recently reintroduced to the public. Commuters on the train mention Nagasaki and worry that they are about to face another existential threat so soon after the war. The film is not subtle about its intentions, but it does not have to be in order to be effective. Dr. Serizawa is notable for being a stand-in for Robert Oppenheimer, architect of the atomic bomb. Serizawa's invention, a weapon that can be used to defeat Godzilla, is akin to Oppenheimer's feelings on his work in the Manhattan Project. Serizawa's suicide parallels Oppenheimer's professional career, refusing to work on nuclear weapons following World War II, and because of this, he was largely blacklisted. Serizawa's concern that this weapon could go on and be used in the wrong hands is similar to Oppenheimer's declaration that he had become a destroyer of worlds.
それこそ水爆と同じように人類を破滅に導くかもしれません。
Godzilla is an inherently Japanese film, not only because of its setting and production, but because of its theme. Its messages were part of the national conversation of the time. Japan never went forward with a nuclear arms program, and has maintained a comparatively small and inactive military. Though one could certainly argue that the film's fear of nuclear proliferation is more of a worldwide concern, even today. Some countries did not sign the Non-Proliferation Treaty that encompasses most of the world, and some withdrew from the treaty years ago. One would think that nuclear proliferation as a worldwide concern would make for further iterations of the film in other countries about said topic. Yet, attempts outside of Japan to remake Godzilla do not often tackle the original film's primary motivation. The 1998 Godzilla remake skirts it, fashioning just another monster movie, and not a really good one either. The American Godzilla film from 2014 does not keep the anti-war theme. In the original film, nuclear testing was responsible for awakening Godzilla. In the remake, the American weapons tests were never tests at all. They were actually a secret war against Godzilla, making nuclear weapons in America blameless. This is in direct opposition to the whole point of Godzilla, not to mention the fact that the United States military is basically the hero of the remake film, and our protagonist is a soldier. There is a brief reference to Hiroshima, but beyond that, the remake ignores the message of the original. Godzilla, the 1954 film, is overt in what it is trying to say and achieve. It makes us think about being responsible with incredible power, not about what we can do, but what we should do.